At the end of the semester last year, I spent an afternoon in my office listening to a series of podcasts analyzing the impact of changing gasoline prices on small business, factors affecting the black market for study drugs during exam time, imagining the effect of a forecasted guacamole shortage on fast food chains, and applying economic concepts to student behavior in selecting on and off-campus housing. You might ask, how did I have time for this audio tour of economics in real life during the hectic final weeks of grading? Well, I was grading. These podcasts were created and recorded by students in an introductory level Principles of Microeconomic course. These students were demonstrating their ability to do much more than just understand and parrot back economic concepts. They were actively engaged in higher level proficiencies of applying, analyzing, and creating using their newly acquired economics knowledge and skills. And they were excited and engaged about economics. As instructors, we are all seeking assignments that help students work toward learning goals, apply critical thinking skills, and achieve those higher levels of Bloom's taxonomy of learning. I have developed an innovative project where students work in groups to produce a podcast, demonstrating their ability to apply economics to their lives. I call it Podlearning, with the pod referencing both the shared learning experience of pods and their peers and the audio podcast that is their final product. Creating student assignments to develop oral communication skills is demanding for instructors in terms of both time cost and the challenges of assessment. The use of peer groups fosters practice of this important skill while reducing the time required for instructor assessment. It also creates an opportunity for students to practice and to be assessed on their application of higher proficiency skills, such as analyzing, applying, etc., even in an introductory economics course. The focus and scope of the podcast assignment can be tailored to the content and level of a particular course. In my experience, I've been applying it to an introductory Principles of Micro course, but instructors could require upper-level students to include interviews with experts in the field or economic actors with particular expertise that students could share or analyze. They could have students do research-based historical reenactments featuring different economic thinkers, or do an analysis of a current policy proposal or issue. Audacity, the software that students can use to make their podcasts, is a free download, and it comes with easy-to-use tutorials that covers recording the audio, editing, adding music, and also exporting the final product.
We used Audacity, which I had never used before, so it was really fun to kind of play around with it. And although it was at times frustrating, we learned how to edit and add our voices and everything in, so it was cool to use a new tool.
Students work in teams of 3 to 4 members to develop an original podcast demonstrating how economic issues and concepts can be observed and analyzed in their world. Each team creates an original podcast that's 10 minutes long, which allows for in-depth analysis and application of economic concepts while retaining a clear focus and keeping it manageable in terms of length for review and assessment by the instructor. Podlearning is easy to implement. What makes Podlearning a helpful teaching innovation for instructors is the group component, which makes assessment of the complex higher-level proficiencies more feasible. For students, working in groups creates an opportunity for collaborative learning, which research shows increases student enjoyment of learning, as well as creating a structure that fosters demonstration of communication and teamwork skills. As Podlearning is a group project, instructors should provide a structure to facilitate effective working groups. I have found it effective to build a scaffold of 4 project components that serve as milestones for students to advance their project and receive feedback along the way. The first project component, the team contract, sets expectations for how team members will work together, communicate, and function as an effective team. This helps students develop their teamwork and communication skills and allows instructors to send any struggling teams back to their contract for solutions. The second project component, the topic proposal, is due 1 week later. Teams propose the main topic and economic concepts that their podcast will cover. Instructors provide feedback to guide students toward topics that are appropriate, feasible, and relevant to the course content. 2 weeks after that, students submit the podcast story outline. This provides an overview of what specifically will be covered in the podcast, including details of the economic concepts that will be used and a plan for telling their story. It also includes operational plans, including an assignment of responsibilities among group members with associated completion dates. This outline provides the instructor an opportunity to provide feedback on the economic content as well as planning skills. Finally, 4 weeks later, the groups submit their completed podcasts. Students can practice oral communication skills through the podcast, often something that's lacking in the traditional economics major. William Wallstead has noted that being able to speak intelligently about economics is as important as being able to write about it, and that oral communication skills in economics may be particularly important for undergraduate students because that's more likely what they're going to need to do once they get into the workplace.
I thought it was an incredible learning experience for me. I like to do hands-on things. I like to relate it to my life. And then especially with this project, relating it to something that I'm currently doing, which is getting an education. That was really interesting to see how economics play into my life and play into all of my peers' lives. Yeah, so it helped me become more of a leader. I was involved in a lot of leadership programs during my semester, so I think I had already been ready to take that position. And it was interesting being the leader of the group and showing people how to stay organized and to do everything in a correct, organized way.
We did collaborate well. I think that being able to bounce our ideas off each other was very good, and correcting each other and kind of telling each other what we need and what we don't need was really important. And it would have been a very large project to do just with one person, so it was good that we had 2 or 3 other people working with us.
Many students have indicated on end of semester course evaluations that they find Podlearning enjoyable and effective for learning. Students benefited from an opportunity to practice oral communication, and they also particularly appreciated the opportunity to apply economic concepts learned in class to the real world. The strategy of working in teams, which makes the assignment manageable for instructors, also allows students to develop important collaboration skills, as well as benefiting from peer learning. Finally, students find Podlearning fun. Podlearning, it's engaging for students, it's adaptable to your course needs, and it's effective for achieving higher level learning outcomes and a deeper understanding of and passion for economics.